Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner, and today I'm with Cody Brien, and huge super fan of Cobra Kai, part of the media team as well. So if you like Cobra Kai, this is going to be the episode for you because you're going to get kind of behind the scenes look, behind the curtain of what it's like being like not only a super fan, but also just like working behind the scenes, seeing behind the scenes stuff, especially in the last season. So if you're a fan at all, this is going to be the episode for you. So, Cody, thank you so much for coming on here. I appreciate you. And give us a little bit first before we even get started. What's your YouTube channel and your social media account so people can look at your stuff?
Sure, Matthew. First of all, thanks for asking me to come on. I was taken completely by surprise and just saw you in the DMs, and I was so excited. So thanks again. Yeah, so I pretty much started off watching this series back in 2018 when it dropped on YouTube, and I was a massive fan. And then over the years, I was driving all my family members crazy about talking about this show, about karate. I mean, I grew up a massive Karate Kid fan growing up, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop bugging my family. I'm going to create a YouTube channel so I can get all this stuff out of me that I want to talk about with this show. And I did. And I told myself, like, okay, if this picks up and I get a pretty decent size following, that's great. If not, it all traces back to just me having a massive passion for the show. So I did that. And I wouldn't have even, if you would have gone back to 2021 when I created the channel and told me what I would have been able to do, like appearing as an extra in the show and being able to get invited on set and do a bunch of interviews, I would have said you were crazy. And it's a crazy how like much of a whirlwind this show has taken me just from being a passionate fan and putting my opinions and thoughts out there. So I do theories on the channel, news. Yeah, I even do a couple interviews, and it's not just to the Cobra Kai series specific, it's the entire Miyagi-verse, and I'm even going to probably incorporate some martial arts based content on there as well.
Okay, cool. So what's your account names exactly so people can follow you? Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, it's Strike First Media, at Strike, and then the number one, ST Media. You can find me on all the different platforms.
So did you start with practicing karate when you were a kid? Like, how did this actually happen?
So this is pretty crazy, actually. The Karate Kid is what got me into martial arts when I was in elementary school. And then I took a break, as some kids do, want to try different things. I played all the different sports. And then after now, I graduated college in 2021, and the Cobra Kai series, the Miyagi-verse as they call it, it got me back into martial arts, and it's got me wanting to do this the rest of my life. So it's kind of funny how more than once, the Karate Kid franchise has gotten me into martial arts more than once.
So you signed back up in karate after college during your
Yeah,
mid-20s sort of
yeah.
thing?
It's Shaolin Kempo, which is a form of karate, but it's more of like an MMA type thing. It mixes so many different facets of martial arts into it. So
Yeah, okay, that's awesome. So what made you just decide to get back into it? You just saw the show, you're like, I need to do it. What was the deciding factor for you?
yeah, it's just, I don't even know, because I was a big basketball fan and I kind of was fizzling out with that. I mean, I graduated college and I was kind of starting out to be my own man and everything. So, and I saw the show and I wanted another form of exercise and thought this was perfect. And I also learned that I did so much research before, and that martial arts really helps out in more than just one facet of your life. It's not just for exercise. It offers the discipline, it's the stress reliever, and it's even beneficial for self-defense. So because it offers so many different benefits from just some sports where it's just fitness, I really thought I could gain so much out of it. And it's so true. And I've been back doing it for almost 4 years now.
So most people, a lot of people will start karate when they're kids, right?
Right.
Or, Shaolin Kempo, whatever style they do, right? Taekwondo, it doesn't matter. Not many will start how old were you when you restarted?
Okay. I was 23, 22,
20.
23.
Okay, I'd say that's like a pretty rare age to restart martial arts training. Maybe that might be kind of common for jujitsu for people who maybe wrestled in college or something like that. But for Shaolin Kempo, I think that's pretty rare. So what did your friends say? Oh yeah, I'm starting, to do Kempo training.
Absolutely. It was a little odd. So I actually didn't start out with going back to Kempo. I dabbled in Taekwondo, which I absolutely loved, but the school wasn't for me. The adult classes were targeted towards adult, well, they were advertised as adults, but there was like a bunch of kids running around. So I didn't really like that scene. And then now the school that I'm in now, it's a lot more close knit. There's only about maybe 5 people in a class at once, and so I get a lot more one-on-one intimate like training with the instructor. And it's so many different ages. There's a guy in his 60s in the class, there's high school kids in the class, there's a guy that's in his 30s. So it's definitely nice to have that balance. But yeah, my friends, they were kind of like, karate, wow, what are you doing getting into martial arts? That's for kids. And I'm like, that's quite the opposite, actually. It's a rare for to get started this late in the game, but it showed me also that martial arts is for any age, and it's never too late to start.
Mm. So what was the reaction from your friends when you're like, all right, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel? Or maybe you didn't tell them. Maybe they just saw the posts and stuff like that. What were they saying that?
I really didn't tell a lot of my friends because I only told my family, not just because I was like ashamed of it or anything, but I was just, oh, well, let's see what happens. And then they were kind of like in shock of like my success with it. And to be honest, so was I. But they always thought it was like super cool. Even if they'd never watched the show or weren't even into martial arts, they were just very happy for the success and thought it was super cool. So,
So do you prefer the stuff on Instagram or you prefer YouTube? What's your favorite platform?
um, I would say my main focus is YouTube. That's where I started, and that's always been my main focus. But Instagram, it's creeping up there. There's a lot, so many different things you can do with Instagram, with photos, short videos, long videos. You can do so much with Instagram. It's a pretty dynamic platform.
So at what point were you like you felt that you were actually making it on YouTube? What point were you like, oh, this is actually going great?
I would say, okay, so last year, it was like the 40th anniversary of The Karate Kid being released. So 2024, it came out in 1984. It was that. So I'm from New Hampshire. That's a really small state. And I went to the theater to see it with my cousins and my brother because they like the movies and stuff too. And I was in line at the concession stand, and this little kid just came up to me and recognized me, and he's, "Are you Strike First Media?" And I was like, "Yeah, I am." And he asked for a photo, so that's when I don't wouldn't consider myself a huge YouTuber, but the fact that in a small space of New Hampshire, a small corner of the country, that I was able to get recognized, I thought that was pretty cool. And I was like, wow, maybe what I'm doing is making a bigger impact more than I thought it would.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. I mean, even if you think about like numbers wise, let's say you only have 1,000 people that view a video, you get 1,000 views, right? Which is small for you, but let's say 1,000, like that's 1,000 people that watch. If you put 1,000 people in in a room, you'd be like, holy crap! Like you'd be nervous talking in front of those people, right?
Exactly,
So
exactly.
the
And
impact is huge. Sorry, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
no, you're good. Also, another thing I would probably say is that the creators of Cobra Kai know who I am, and I've even had dinner with one of them down in Atlanta when they were filming. So the fact that they know me by name and have seen my content and are subscribed and they follow me back on social media was pretty crazy to
That's very cool. I remember the first time I got recognized, I was on an airplane, and some guy was like, "Hey, are you famous?" I'm like, "No, definitely not famous." He's like, "I think I saw your Instagram. Do you do?" He's like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "We do martial arts." "Oh yeah." I'm like, and I'm like, "Oh, do you do martial arts?" He's, "No, I just follow martial arts content." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
And he asked me to take a picture, and I was like, "That was cool." And it's just a small thing, right? Now, obviously, that's not any sort of celebrity status or any large following by any means, but it's still like a kind of a good feeling, right?
yeah, it's like
Um,
it gives you a reason. This is the little things like this. This is a portion of the reason why we do this type of thing. It's
mm.
super cool.
So when did they first reach out to you? Because obviously you're like a super fan, so they see your stuff. At what point would they reach out to you and say, "Hey, let's hang out," or "Hey, come on set"?
Right around 2 years ago now, one of the creators had been following me, and a buddy of mine were going down to Atlanta to just a Comic Con to visit another one of my friends that lives down there, and we're like, oh, they're knee deep in filming season 6 right now. Let's shoot our shot, shoot an arrow in the dark, and see if we could meet up with them or grab dinner. And since they follow us back, he responded pretty quickly, and he was like, "Oh, absolutely."
Who's
Because
he? I'm sorry.
wait, say that again.
Sorry, who is he?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, one of the creators of the show, John Hurwitz.
Okay, he's like the director, I think, right? Or
He's a director, writer, and creator. Yeah, he wears a lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
different hats.
Okay.
But yeah, he was more than willing to meet with us for dinner. And the amount of crazy conversations that we had just from like behind the scenes type stuff, it was super, super surreal.
Were you nervous going to that dinner?
Honestly, a little bit
Yeah.
because I hadn't really. I mean, I guess you could consider him like a minor celebrity because like he makes films and TV shows, and he's a pretty well named, no, or decently known name in the industry. So I was a little nervous. Yeah.
Yeah. So did you go in there like prepared with questions? Like, all right, these are all the things I want to know about Cobra Kai that I've always wanted to ask, sort of thing.
No, honestly, we just kind of let it flow naturally, and we didn't want it to be like so. I guess not calculated, but we just didn't want it to be like a checklist. We just kind of wanted to be a genuine getting to know him, and we just let the conversations flow naturally.
That's awesome. I think that's better too. If you come off as like a needy super fan, it probably wouldn't be enjoyable for him either.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with the creators of the show, they care more about the fans than I would say a usual creator or like someone involved in a franchise. They really like they do Q&As with the fans. They'll happily even respond to messages most of the time when they see them, even if they're not even like never spoke to them before. They really care about the fans, and I think that's important.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So then, like, all right, so then eventually you got invited out to on set, and that this past year, 2024. Was it the first time out there?
Yes, yep.
So what was that experience like? What did they actually have you do?
Oh man. Okay, so I actually was on the set 3 different times last year. Two of
Okay.
them were for as an extra, and I just applied to be a background extra like anyone normally would. The third and final time was pretty crazy. So I had a contact about with Netflix about like screeners and stuff to seeing the season early, doing my early coverage. And out of the blue, they reached out to me for a set visit to do this round table style interviews with a bunch of like big media outlets like Screen Rant. What else was it? IGN and a bunch of other like big name agencies that do these interviews, and then just there's me, a little YouTube channel, just a one man team doing
Yeah.
these interviews. And a funny thing with that is these guys had their laptops and their notebooks, and I just had my phone. I didn't have any notes. I was just as a fan, I was just asking questions pretty much off the dome with that, and like they were filming the final fight. Spoilers if you haven't seen season 6, part 3 yet, but William Zabka, Johnny Lawrence's final fight with Sensei Wolf, they were filming that scene. So they had pretty much all of the cast there, and they would siphon them in wearing their Cobra Kai gis, and we would interview them one at a time, and then they would siphon out to go back out and film, and then they would siphon someone else in. It was so cool.
Hmm.
Uh,
Who was your favorite interview? I mean, I don't know if you can say a favorite, right? But who were you most, I don't know, just shocked to talk to?
we didn't get to talk to everyone, unfortunately. Like we couldn't speak to William Zabka, or who plays Johnny, or Ralph Macchio, who plays Daniel, because they were the most busiest that day. But of the people that we spoke to, I would say either Tanner Buchanan, who plays Robbie Keene, or Sholo Metaduena, who plays Miguel. Those are probably my
Mm.
favorites.
What makes you say those ones?
Just because they seem like the most, I wouldn't say it's more authentic than other, but probably because they play some of my favorite characters in the show. And it was surreal to just see like them on the big screen to now right in front of my face. And I get to ask them questions, and they're looking into my soul.
That's awesome. So, did any of the questions you asked them? Do you ask them any like specific martial arts questions, or is it all about show related?
Um, I think I asked actually Mary Mauser, who plays Samantha LaRusso. She had no training going into this. And I learned that she's actually a black belt in Goju Ryu. So that's the style that they used for the foundation of Miyagi Do. And that she's actually, throughout the 7, 8 year tenure through the show, it's pushed her to really train even outside of the means that she needs to do for the show, and she's even going to continue it past the show. So it's pretty crazy how she came in, no experience at all to now taking it very seriously to be a black belt in a style that she was involved with for 7, 8 years.
That's amazing. So when you're there, you do the interview. Are you an extra too in that last time you go, or are you just doing media stuff, just interviews?
That time it was just intermediate interviews.
So where's this at? Is this in LA?
So the only time they film in LA is when they do the exterior like landmark shots, so that when Daniel and Johnny were running on the street and stuff. But like for the most part, like I'd say 90%, it's all filmed in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, so you flew to Atlanta from New Hampshire.
Hmm.
Okay, so how long do you stay out there when you go?
For like when I was an extra.
No, like the third visit.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
Netflix actually comped my trip
Oh,
and my accommodations for everything. So I think we were there like 2 days. 2 days, yeah.
cool. What do? You send them like a receipt and they just send you a check or something? How does
No,
that work?
they pretty much said we have a hotel, and it's actually a real nice hotel. But they just sent me a list of flights that would be beneficial for which time I'd want to leave, and I picked the one, and they booked it for me and sent me all the information, and they gave me like 3, 4 Uber codes to use to get around. So
Wow, that's really cool.
I got spoiled for it.
Yeah.
So
Man, that's awesome. So after you did that, like how did that if you went out and flew to Atlanta, you did the interviews, you come back, how did that affect like your fandom or how you approached YouTube after that?
it was I made a post because a few weeks ago or like last week because I had just gotten they took like a professional photo of all of us on the set, but they couldn't give it to us because until the episodes dropped. So to be able to see that and just see me being on the set for all the work that I've done, it was just like I think I put in the post like I'm like an example of never giving up on your dreams, even if it feels like a long shot. If you just little bit of hard work, you never know where it's going to take you,
Mm,
and it's so true. And when you have like a passion for something, you're pretty much going to be good to go. Because
mm.
if you got that passion, then you're never going to slack off. You're going to always give your 100%.
And how do you feel like it affects culture when it comes to martial arts or karate? Like having this show that's a popular show on Netflix with people who are devoting all their time and energy into it, like you for YouTube. Like, how do you feel like it actually affects the sport or the culture around the sport?
I think it can be a positive and a negative. The positive is it's going to get a lot more people interested in it for sure. I'm an example of that, even
Yeah.
though I was 23 years old and I'm about to be
Right.
27 now.
Yeah.
I'm still passionate about it. I love doing it. I really think it's going to impact the sport of just martial arts in general positively that way. The negative part is that people are probably going to, some people who watch the show might think or take Cobra Kai a little too seriously and think that's how all fights go when
Right.
it's quite the opposite, actually. So I would say it might make a negative stigma around how some martial arts are perceived too, that it's not it's made for TV show, it's made for film. So some things can be embellished. So it's not all always going to be as accurate as we'd all as martial artists. But I think that the creative team and the stunt coordinators and fight choreographers, I think they do as good a job as they can to try and make things that make sure they're honoring the sport as well as making sure things are correct.
So, what's something about Cobra Kai, and it's okay if you talked about this on your channel before too, like that people wouldn't expect or wouldn't know. Maybe people who are not super fans, something that's like interesting that they wouldn't know about the show or about the background.
Ooh, I would say that Ralph Macchio, both of his kids, or Ralph Macchio is actually not a black belt, or he hasn't trained outside of like the show or the Karate Kid movies. He really hasn't done any formal training. He didn't really continue it after outside of the means that are needed for him in the show. Whereas actors like William Zabka, who plays Johnny Lawrence, is a very avid martial artist. He had no experience going in to the Karate Kid movie, but ever since then up to now, he's been super passionate about it, and you can see it through his work on the show and his fights that you can tell that he definitely keeps up with it, especially for being a near 60-year-old man,
Hmm.
which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, really impressive. So, I don't know the answer to this. Like, How many is this was this the last season, or is there going to be more seasons? What's the plan moving forward?
This was unfortunately the last season. It's
Okay.
bittersweet, but it's the last season.
So what do you do after this? What's next?
That's a good question. So the creators of the show have said yes, Cobra Kai is ending, but that they're very interested in spin-offs with some of the other characters that they've created, like maybe some of the younger cast. I don't know if you knew about this, but there's another Karate Kid movie with Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan coming out in May
Oh,
of
I did
this
not know
year.
that.
Yeah,
Cool.
so I'll definitely covering that, and as well as spin-offs going forward. And like I said earlier on, I do definitely want to incorporate some sort of martial arts content. I mean, I'm no expert at this point in my martial arts journey by any means, but as I pick up stuff along the way, I think I could offer some advice or just do some tutorials maybe down the line.
So, is there another show you think you might become a super fan of that you'll start creating content for? That can you see? Do you watch any other shows, or is it just Cobra Kai all day, every day?
No, I'm a big Marvel fan
Yeah.
too, a big Spider-Man fan especially. I do have another channel based on Marvel content, but
Mhm.
just as of late, this has taken up all my time. And I actually do have a podcast based on Spider-Man with a buddy of mine that I do. And as news starts coming out for that next movie, we'll probably ramp it up there. But I'm definitely keeping myself busy content-wise.
Yeah, very cool. And I think on YouTube you have like around 40,000 subs, something like that, 43,000.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you able to transfer that into business, make money out of it? What's your plan now that the show's over? Or is it like something like, okay, this is a really good, really fun, and awesome, and now I'm going to move on to something else? What are you able to actually do, I guess, monetarily? Because this is a business podcast, right? So that's why I ask.
Yeah. So I would say yes, I do make a decent amount of money for a side gig from YouTube, but like I said, I made like a kind of like a promise to myself at the end of the day. This is always going to be for my passion of the show and just the universe and the characters. I don't want to force content and make subpar content that I'm not really pleased with just to fulfill like some financial gain from it. I would say I wouldn't I'll probably continue doing it as long as there's something to talk about or if I come up with a creative video idea. It may not mean making videos every week, but that I'm still going to keep the channel what it is because unfortunately can't really transfer unless I rebrand the channel completely, which I don't really want to do because
Yeah.
the movies coming out and other potential projects down the line. So I would say for now I'm going to keep things as it is. It just means some videos and content wise might be a little slower in the coming months just because the show's ended and we got some time before any other projects come about. But I'll be still making videos here and there on the channel because the
Did
money's
you?
never been the main objective.
Yeah, I totally get that. The passion like seeps through the video, like you can tell. And
Thank you.
then did you have anyone reach out to you in order to do like sponsorship or product placement or anything like that? Like any martial arts companies? Does that happen?
You know, I wish like
Okay.
something like Century Martial
Like
Arts
Century,
reached out
yeah,
to me,
yeah.
but it was all like I don't want to advertise or do product placement unless I'm familiar with a product and I know what it is. They've offered to send it to me, but I'm just like, it's okay. I really didn't feel the need for it. But if Century reaches out to me, oh, I'm gonna jump
Yeah.
on that.
All
But it's
right,
mostly
cool.
been products that I'm not really too familiar with.
Yeah, you're not gonna do some random face cream for wrinkles or something.
Exactly.
So who watches your channel? Who is your target listener? What's their age, guy or girl? Do you know that kind of your demographic?
Yeah, I think for the most part, right now it's between 24 and 36. But the brilliant thing about this show is that it's multi generational. This is a show that grandparents can watch with their kids and then their kids,
Yeah.
grandparents and stuff. And guys and gals both love it because there's like badass martial artists for guys and girls in the show. And I think that's great for me too because my content is talking about the show for the most part in martial arts. So I think it covers a target audience all like it doesn't discriminate, which is great. So
Yeah.
it's so many different people.
So now that I'm assuming you picked up a lot of skills when it comes to video editing and copy video for videos and thumbnails and stuff like that. Have you thought about doing media marketing or media creation for businesses or martial arts schools or anything like that? Has that crossed your mind?
Actually, I haven't, but maybe I should. I mean, because right now my career is like my actual job isn't really have to do with my skills through YouTube and like media and stuff at all. But I think I should probably consider that. You've given me something to think about.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll be your first client.
Hey, let's do it.
Yeah, like I'm not even joking. Like I can send you some content and be like, okay, let's try this. We could do it as a case study or something like that, and then see how that picks up. And I would happily have someone because I really do need someone like that and someone who's
Sweet.
passionate. I think that'd be really cool. So yeah, we'll talk after the episode. So now
Absolutely.
that now that the show's over, you're training. Do you think you'll just continue to keep training even though the show's over?
Oh, 100%. And the fact that the show's over, it's going to give me a lot more time. I mean, I still go to class like at least 3 times a week, and I even want to do like more stuff outside of that on weekends with my instructor. But yeah, because now that the show's over, it's kind of because a lot of times I'll make a video after work, and sometimes it can bleed through in my training time. But now that there's going to be the show's over, this is a blessing in disguise, no interruptions, and I can really put a lot of my focus on that. So I'm 100% going to keep going.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on here. I guess the only other thing I want to know is if you, let's say I was in martial arts school and I wanted to get better at online content or social media or YouTube or whatever, what would be some tips or strategies you'd want to share?
I would say ask questions to people who you watch who have been successful. Sometimes they'll answer, but you never know. I did a lot of asking questions when I didn't know things. And my main online friend group I made just by asking a simple question. And now there's some of my best friends that I've actually met in real life too. And they've helped me so much. And just doing your research, funny enough, just watching YouTube tutorial videos. That's how
Oh,
I
yeah.
learned to edit, to make thumbnails, and do all this stuff that I never would have known how to do without. So I would say ask questions and just do as much research as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can learn anything from YouTube right now. I mean, literally anything in the entire world. Like when people ask me a question, like how to do something that they could easily search on Google or YouTube, I get so mad. I'm like, oh my
Right.
God, what do I look like? I watch, I mean, obviously I run like a website, I run a podcast and a newsletter. There's all this, and there's all the time. Like, I have no idea how to do this one thing, but I guarantee someone made a YouTube video out of it. So, and if you want to be
Absolutely.
a super fan of Cobra Kai, there's a YouTube channel for that and a really good one. So thank you so much for coming on here. Once again, give us like your handles to follow for maybe someone who is slow on searching it while they're listening. How do they find you again?
It's just at Strike First Media, STRIKE 1ST Media, all
Oh,
one word.
awesome. My name is Matthew Brenner. I'm with Double Your Dojo. If you want to learn how to grow your martial arts school organically without having to depend on ads, so strategic partnerships with your local education system, send me an email, matthew@wyourdojo.com, or reach out to me on Instagram at blackbeltbrenner1. Thank you guys. Bye.